So this week, I wanted to talk to you guys about finding your purpose and how to do it, because when I'm coaching and working with clients, this is something that comes up quite a lot. So I feel like it's a kind of conversation that I'm always having. But more recently is having watched the Soul, the new Disney and Pixar film on Disney Plus. It's really brought up a lot of conversations around purpose that I'm seeing people having online. And for those of you who haven't watched the film, first of all, what are you waiting for? Go and check it out. It's an amazing story, amazing lesson behind the story, which I'm recommending to as many people as possible. And secondly, I'm probably going to have to throw out some kind of spoiler alert just in case I say something in the film that gives something away that you don't want to hear. So there, I've said it, it's done. But the reason I wanted to have this conversation is because after watching Soul, like I said, it's an incredible story, and it's a story about a guy who has his purpose, right? He has his purpose in playing piano, but he has an unfortunate accident, and he has this opportunity to look at his life as a whole, and he sees that although he's got his purpose, the rest of his life is kind of miserable. And the story goes on, and he ends up kind of mentoring a lost soul, they're called. There's lots of different elements to the film which make it great. And the overall, like I said, lessons and learnings from the film are just incredible. And I think it's one of those films that really applies not just to kids, but to adults. And the whole thing about purpose is a kind of theme throughout. It's kind of the point of the movie, really. It's all about purpose and, living with your soul, I guess. And it really got me thinking about what does it mean to have a purpose? Because a lot of the conversations I have with people is like, I don't know what my purpose is. I don't know how to find my purpose. How do I know what my purpose is? And we think, and I certainly used to do this, is like we think that our purpose is something that's out there, ready and waiting for us to go and catch it like a Pokemon. And that's it. We found our purpose. I found my purpose. It's out there for me, and I've now found it, and I can live this amazing life. But I guess what happens more often than not is like you find this thing that you're really passionate about, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the rest of your life is good or is happy or is full of abundance or is perfect. And this purpose becomes a bit of a distraction for us in a good way, but also in a bad way. And the way that I've started to really see purpose is like it's not something that is out there waiting for you to go and find it, to catch it like a Pokemon. It's something that comes from within you. It's not about this one thing that you're designed to do for the rest of your life to live this happy, abundant life. Because if that was true, then there wouldn't be people like The Rock, for example, right? The Rock has had 3 amazing careers in one lifetime. He was a really great college footballer when he was still in school. And then he went on to become probably one of the best and most recognizable WWE wrestlers of all time. And now he's the highest paid actor of all time. So surely like he hasn't been dished out, 3 lots of purposes, like, because then that wouldn't make sense in terms of like, well, there's only one thing that I can do in my life that I need to find, right? The difference is that with someone like The Rock and all these other people that you see who go on from one career to another to another to another, there's plenty of examples of like pop stars who have become TV presenters, or TV presenters who have gone on to become something else, or footballers who have then gone on to become something beyond their football career. And it's like, if their purpose was so caught up in one thing, then surely they wouldn't be able to do all of these other things as well. So to me, it's not about this one thing that you need to go and find. It's about how you are being and how you're showing up when you're doing anything, right? One of the best quotes ever is, the way you do anything is the way you do everything. And the way that I like to see it is that we kind of have these 2 lines of life, right? There's the doing of life, which is like getting a job, going to school, finding a partner, going traveling, getting married, having kids, like etc. Like all of these tick box exercises, buying a house, like all of that stuff is there. And then there's the being of life, right? And that's the way that we're living our life. And your being can go from, being stressed or anxious or negative or sad or angry, all the way up to, happy, abundant, joy, full of kindness, compassion, right? They're ways of being. And when it comes to purpose, when you shift your thinking from these things that you need to do, this purpose that you need to find, this purpose that you have, this purpose that you need to do, to actually being more purposeful in your day-to-day life, i.e. the being, the shift happens by itself, because all of a sudden you don't necessarily have this one thing that you found, which is like this amazing thing that's going to change your life, all of a sudden you're being more purposeful in every area of your life. Like if you took someone like Cristiano Ronaldo, right? Arguably the best football player in the world right now, probably one of the best ever. If you took him as an example and you said, all right, Cristiano, you can no longer play football, but you have to put everything you can into tennis, I'm pretty sure that he would become, maybe not the best tennis player ever, but he'd become a pretty good tennis player, because he will purposely put himself in a place where he can work hard, train hard, and when he's in that mode, he's coming from a place of clarity, he's coming from a place of focus, he's coming from a place of purpose. Tennis is not his purpose, but if he comes at it from a place of purpose, then he can do anything. And the same applies to my own life. Like, I've done so many things that I felt like they were supposed to be my purpose, like, doing events, and then doing social media. Now the podcast. But even on aside of this, I do loads of other stuff. Like, I love to skateboard. I love to ski when we can go. I love to travel. I love to write. I love to read. I love to game. I love playing on my PlayStation. But they can't all be my purpose. But it's when I'm doing those things is when I'm in the purest state of being. And that's when the purpose really comes out. It's not the purpose in the sense of like, you have to find this thing. It's a purpose in the sense of actually how purposeful and how mindful and how attentive and how present am I being whilst doing this thing that I'm doing. And when you can really create that shift and that shift of perspective and mindset from the things that you're trying to do in life to the way that you're being in life instead, everything will change. And I think that when it comes to purpose, we really need to stop this narrative in our own minds of, I need to find something that is my purpose. Because you could spend your whole life searching for it. You could spend your whole life searching for this one thing and never find it. But if you flip that script into actually, how can I be more purposeful in the things that I do? How can I be more purposeful when I spend time with my friends and family? How can I be more purposeful when I speak to my partner? How can I be more purposeful when I'm going on a walk? How can I be more purposeful at my job? And it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to just suck it up if you've got a job that you don't like. If you've got a job that you don't like, maybe you need to look for something else. But it doesn't mean that the next thing has to be your purpose. You could, sit down and create art. That doesn't necessarily have to be your purpose. As long as you're being mindful and present when you're doing it, and you're putting all of your attention and focus and compassion and energy into it, you will live purposely through doing that thing. So remember that the shift isn't in the things that you do. The shift comes from the being within yourself. And when you can really notice that shift for yourself, that's when everything changes. And I'd even challenge you, after listening to this and after taking this on board, is to notice in the next, say week, the next 7 days from listening to this, I'd love to challenge you to notice the moments when you're really present and you're really living with purpose. And that doesn't have to be this big, amazing scenario, right? This could simply be when you're reading a book or when you're having a conversation with someone. Just mentally take note of those situations where you feel like you are being really mindful and full of purpose in those moments. And let me know what some of those are. I'd love to hear what some of those are and what shift you notice by, recognizing those things. And to do so, you can just hit me up on Instagram at I'm Alex Manzi, drop me a DM, or you can also hit me up on TikTok, Alex Manzi Coaching. I'd love to hear what you learn from just looking out for those little moments of purposefulness. I don't even know if that's a word, and mindfulness.